Welcome everyone to a new episode of Science Factory. Today we're traveling back to ancient Egypt, but not through the pyramids or temples as you might expect. Today we'll be exploring a different material world, the world of wood. Our guest is Dr. Gersande Dimer, a specialist in Egyptology who has dedicated her career to understanding how wood shaped the daily life, economy, and beliefs of ancient Egyptians. Gersande, welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's a real pleasure to have you with us. So you're a specialist in ancient Egypt, but not in the usual way. Your work focuses on wood. How did your journey into Egyptology begin? Was there a specific spark that drew you to the ancient world?
From the beginning, the nature and plants and the trees were at the center of my research, but also of my favorite thematics, because I guess I had a lot of thinking about why working on wood in ancient Egypt. And finally, I discovered that it was thanks to my father that was an engineer in agronomy. And he taught me since the beginning, since I was a child, the name of the trees, the name of the plants, and step by step, I always follow this way of the studying the place of the trees and plants in the ancient world through my studies, and then I was lucky enough to have a master dedicated to the specific production of objects that were the funerary wooden models. That was my favorite object when I was a child. I was not impressed by gold or jewels or gods or all these very traditional ideas we have about Egypt. I was very interested by this idea of rebirth and the ways they used to have a perfect life in the afterlife. And one of this way was these funerary models made of wood. So it was like a combination of my passions, the private ones, and what I was thinking was very important, like to be surrounded by objects. And the material that I was very addicted of was the wood. So it was the beginning. And because for me, this material, since the first years, was very important as a lively material, very different from the stone or ceramics. It was something I had to be connected with.
What was first, wood or Egypt? Because you said that because of your father, his profession and what he taught you, you were very attracted to wood. But how did this interest towards ancient Egypt begin?
I was always interested by ancient Egypt since I think, like my child now, my son, 9 years old. I remember I had this small book in France that is called Image Doc. It was like a small scientific books, review for the journal for the kids. And they were about embalming and the rebirth. So this idea of there is something behind and that there is something like we know in our daily life, like there is a second possibility, a second way, was very interesting to me. And then because I was helped by my parents, they always encouraged me to continue in this way. That is I was very lucky about that, because they knew it was like a crazy idea, but they always supported me and bring me in exhibitions and buying me books. But logically, the trees, the wood came linked to this idea I had of ancient Egypt, because finally the majority of the objects that you see in the collections are made of wood.
What can wood tell us about ancient Egyptian life that stone can't?
The thing of wood is that this is a material that keeps all the traces of his life. From his production to his use. So from a wooden object that can be a tool, an artifact, a manufactured object like a statue or a coffin, a box, anything, you always find tool traces. You see the wood, how is cut, how is assembled, how you join the pieces, which part of the wood you choose, how you put color on or not, if you preserve the vein of the wood with your pigments, there is a complete way of thinking this material that is, to me, really interesting, and that is more, to me, that speaks to me more than stone, for example.
What kind of woods did Egyptians use, and where did they get them in such a desert landscape?
So, yeah, it's a very good question. And this vision of a desert landscape is a vision, an idea of Egypt that many people have, but it's not a real vision of what was the landscape, what is still the landscape in Egypt, because the ancient Egyptians were using many local woods and not as good quality. But the well-known that we have are the acacia. We have different kind of acacia, Nile acacia, another kind that is radiana, that is more hardwood. Also the tamarisk, and of course the sycamore, that is very well known for this funerary symbolism of rebirth that was used for the production of coffin statues and in different ways depending on the period. But it's also a very easy working wood. It's a soft wood. It's easy to work. It doesn't have long planks. It doesn't give you long elements. But with the skill of the craftsmen, they were able to join small elements together to make, for example, for a coffin, a complete flat box that was then plastered. So at the end, you have a complete object. But also, there were these periods of using this sycamore for cutting the coffin in the second intermediate period, has from a complete trunk, like putting the body inside of the trunk of the wood. That is very interesting also as a way of thinking the material. Of course, we have also the jujube tree, that is the Ziziphus spinacristi, that is a very good one, local one. But also, as we all have in mind, they were importing different woods from abroad, mainly coniferous wood until the second millennium BC, like cedar from Lebanon, also cedar from Cyprus and Atlas mountains. The thing is that there is a lot of issues regarding the identification of these woods because, for example, the cedar is not the only coniferous wood that was imported. We know that they have also pine woods of different kinds, different species, also cypress, juniper. But when you generally, until a recent period, when you were looking at a piece of coniferous, as you can recognize that it's a coniferous with the vein of the wood that is very specific, it was a systematic way to say this is cedar with no identification or very few. So on old publication, you will find a lot of cedar mentions that are not proved. And when you take the time to analyze that you have the possibility to do it on site, like we all do, you realize that finally there is not only cedar, there is all these kind of things. And that cedar is a problem because in the anatomy, you can't make the difference between cedar from Lebanon and cedar from the Atlas or Cyprus or anyway. So you have a cedar, okay. But then, of course, the more classical trade is with Lebanon. So the majority, and on the text, you have some mention of this tree, this wood, coming from Lebanon. But it's not the majority. We have this kind of problem of identification that we try to solve by, we hope, to develop project of testing new techniques to identify the difference of cedars, for example, to have a better idea of the trade and of this wood. But it's not the only one that is a bit tricky. We have also the ebony wood, this black dark wood that is always, when you are in a museum, you have this black wood object and you will read ebony wood, but without any identification. And the problem is that this black wood can be the family from the ebony, the Diospyros, or the Dalbergia that is called by generally the scholars the pharaohs, the ebony of the pharaohs. But it's not from the family of ebonies. And then when you speak about the trade, and for the people thinking about ebony is going to Asia, going to these kind of countries, and that's not true. There are ebony from the family of ebony that are growing in Africa, in Gabon, so there are other provenance, but the majority of the objects that we analyzed are not from this family. Are Dalbergia that is growing from South Sudan to Ethiopia to the Horn of Africa. That is another connection, but it's very important to be clear on the identification. That's why we have to develop a lot of this process and trying to develop protocols with non-invasive analysis.
How easy is it nowadays to conduct those analyses on site? Because you can't take any samples out of Egypt. You have to conduct all the analysis on site. Yeah, is it very difficult? Do you need like very big instruments, or how do you do that?
No, it's so thanks to the permission of the Ministry of Antiquities, Tourism and Antiquities, every mission asks for the permission to do wood analysis, of course. And nowadays, it's not complicated. I'm totally independent with my microscope to move from one side to another one. I just need a razor blade, some kind of water and glycerol. That is something. When I have to make a sample, when I have to sample the wood, but I try to mix techniques from invasive when I have to, when I can't do a different way, and non-invasive. With the dynolite that we use, that is a microscope, portative microscope, very easy. And the thing is that it works very well on the local woods, even when they are very much decayed, and that you can't cut it to have a sample. So you mix this as a view to check for the section of the wood, to identify the species. And when this is working very well for the locals, but not for the coniferous wood. So for coniferous wood, I have to sample, but I just need like 1 millimeter of wood to check on the microscope. And every sample is photographed. Like that, I keep them as a database of images of identification. But this is very easy. I even developed a protocol that I was trained off on the lab in Kew Gardens in London, because normally when your wood is so hard, so dry, like an ebony or Dalbergia, you have to boil it to soften it. But it's easy in a lab. But it's not, and it's easy because it's a sample from a plank. It's not from an archaeological object. So that's a lot of things to keep in mind. But I was lucky enough to we work with the mission of the Western Wadis, the one that discovered the tomb of Thutmose II. And in the Western Wadis, there is a lot of necropolis, in different places. And one of these necropolis was the Wadi Baria, where the archaeologists found family tombs from the reign of Amenhotep III, with foreigners' wives, king's son, very high elites. And it was robbed, but it was full of piece of wood and full of black wood, but piece of wigs, you see these kind of elements. So Pierce Lizeland gave me the approval to check the wood by testing this protocol of boiling the wood on site. But we had to build a small oven to have fire, to put my small piece of black wood in my boiling water like a pasta. I was boiling that on site with the wind, with the sun, so we were tasting. The team was very nice to help. And so I put it on the water, boiled water, and it was soft enough to cut it very smoothly. Then I put the object to dry like a normal way. It didn't put any problem on the object, and the analysis was perfect. So we can test a lot of things on site and get a lot of results that we were not expecting.
So in this mission, the Western Wadis mission that you were part of, there were a lot of pieces of wood found there. Did you have the chance to get to any conclusions about the materials you found there?
Yeah, it was almost homogeneous finding. So it was under all the fragments that we had of toilet objects, wigs for statues, maybe, or also funerary masks. And it was very interesting to see how it was done. But you realize with the kind of wood, there were not only this black wood, but also a lot of imported woods, like is totally in adequation with the level, the state of the Eli, that is the royal one. So you have like all the imported woods that you can find on this period. We were expecting that we can find real ebony, but no, it was Dalbergia that was used for making all this group of objects. And it was clear that it was coming from a very high skill workshop. It was also possible, thanks to the quantity of fragments, to check the kind of techniques to make the loops of the wigs, to have an idea of the number of these wigs. So it means how many coffins, how many heads that we can identify. And also something that was very interesting was to find a fragment of a box, very simple, with the classical decoration in black and red, that, you know, like this very New Kingdom box for jewels, or also linen, this kind of furniture that you find in the tombs, that we also know from Deir el-Medina on the same period, almost a little bit earlier, but it continues. And it was very interesting to see that we find exactly the same kind of box with the same decoration in Deir el-Medina, so for the artisans, and in the tombs of the family of the king. The only difference for the family of the king is that they put some golden leaf on the box. It's like the top level of the same workshop. So it was very interesting, and understanding, okay, this is working on the same place, but they adapt to the public for who it's done. So it's a very interesting way of comparing the production.
I asked you this question because I think it's interesting to see how these fragments of woods can give you so much information, and it's not only through the big findings like the jewels and gold and coffins, but also fragments can give you a huge amount of information. And people, they see in the movies that you find a tomb and it hasn't been robbed or anything. So it's interesting to show that reality is not like that. It can be like it can happen. But in most cases, you can also find the other side, that it's been robbed, that it's been partially destroyed, and you only have fragments. But in spite of that, it's still an interesting finding.
You have a lot of information, even with a fragment that you can't link to a specific object. Because, for example, the daily life of every Egyptologist, archaeologist working in Egypt, you find every time fragments of wood. And I think it's also a reason why it was not an interested topic, because it's too much material, too much, or too much decayed. But when you take everything, like I work in many missions with bags of fragments, so of course you might think it's boring and everything, but no, because if you make a proper distinction in the fragment of this group is this kind, this group is this kind, there is more of this kind here, is it the same in more south, or same period, or is it a local use of this kind of acacia? You can reconstruct everything from fragments. The matter is to preserve and decide, okay, this is, of course, with tiny pieces decayed, you can't do everything, but with every piece that is preserved, and we are lucky enough in Egypt to have the most important corpus of ancient wood and heritage of all the Middle East, because Egypt is dry and the majority of the wood is so well preserved, except on some areas like el-hawa. Sometimes it was tricky, but anyway, we succeed to do a lot of things because we are fighting with the termites. But also you have all this corpus that is giving you information about woods coming from other countries where it's not preserved at all. All the Middle East, Lebanon, Palestine, all this area, there is no wood. It's too humid. So all the testimony of this production, this is in Egypt. So from Egypt, you go back to all the foreign countries.
Many of the objects you study are funerary, like coffins, models, furniture for the afterlife. What do these wooden pieces reveal about how Egyptians imagined death and eternity?
It depends of the period. I work on objects from first dynasty to Islamic period. And it's very interesting to see how they use the same kind of wood with no interruption since the first dynasties. But they change the way of using it, the form, the shape, the styles, the symbolism. It's very interesting to see how this materiality is totally linked with the funerary belief. I mean, for example, we organized a conference in Alcalá with Carlos Gracia Zamacona. The topic was to reconnecting text and materiality. And I work on different corpuses with different missions of many periods. It gives me the possibility to compare and to make a comparison on the line of time. And so with the same kind of woods, you see how they built, I will speak about coffins, for example. They built something that is considered as a shelter. The coffin is protecting the body, this shelter can be open to the outside and the old kingdom with the doors, the house coffins and the palace passade coffins. The doors are opened. So there is a lot of things about this symbolism. The body is there, is ready to rebirth, and there is a complete vision of this shelter as the house of eternity. This continued during the Middle Kingdom with the moving of the scenes from the burial chamber and to the walls of the coffins, like, for example, with the scenes of granaries painted in the coffin. This is still the house of eternity, that the death is inside his eternal home. And then it changed. All this shelter, this house that was protected with prophylactic processes, for example, the use of red to put red between the junction of the planks and put some formulas to protect the body and give him new energy that are known from the Old Kingdom until the New Kingdom. This movement is changing the coffin becoming the body itself. And the formulas are moving from the box to the coffin, the anthropomorphic coffin. And this, you have this continuity of how you pass from a shelter to your own body as a protected, and you are the house of your own body. But all this using the same kind of wood and very classical techniques. There is no many changes of assembling pieces, and just the shape is changing, the style, the decoration, the formulas, they move. Everything is moving. It's very interesting to see how things are moving. And sometimes you have some specificities like the Rishi coffins of the Second Intermediate period that are very well known with all these wings painted on it. But you realize that in this period, in Thebes, not because there is no more cedar to build a coffin, no, it's a specific choice. They want complete trunks of sycamore to cut the place of the body, to put your body inside of the tree, this tree that is known to be the tree of the goddess Hathor. So you are embraced by the tree of the goddess. And just after this moment of this materiality link between the tree, the body, and the symbolism, the iconography of the goddess of the tree is appearing in the tombs. Everywhere in the New Kingdom, on the chapels, you will find them everywhere. So there is a complete link. Everything is linked. The problem is that the old Egyptology made a clear differentiation between the text and the support and the materiality. But in ancient Egypt, they were not separating the things like that. A text was written on a specific wood, on a specific stone, on a specific everything. It's a connection of text and materiality. And when we go back, thanks to this wood study, it's something we can think better because it's totally linked. Everything is linked together. And you can then link iconography, the production, the local production. It's very nice to see.
It's a very complex topic. And I think that differentiation might also be necessary to understand, because there are so many fragments, so many examples, so many artifacts that you need to make a classification to be able to understand. Is there a particular object or discovery that has stayed with you? Maybe something that touched you emotionally or changed how you see ancient Egypt?
The more emotionally moment was for me in Kubet el-hawa with the team of Alejandro Jimenez Serrano, when they found the tomb of Shemai, the intact tomb of Shemai that was filled with his coffin, and also the funerary model boats that were placed close to the coffin. And for me, as I dedicated 6 years of my life more on the wooden models, to be there discovering a tomb with this object that you are the first one to see, it was, even if it was eaten by the termites, even if it was not in a perfect state, it was fantastic. It was a great moment, and it's something you share with the team and that you never forget. This is something very interesting.
It must create a personal link also with the team.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is
it's a shared experience, a very special one.
It's something that you never forget, and it's very nice to see that Alejandro was after my PhD, and I had no postdoc already. I was looking for trying to develop my career, and then I get my Marie Curie fellowship. But Alejandro was the first one to call me to join the mission. He is the one that gave me the chance to show what I can do with this kind of object. So it was a big moment for me to join this mission, the Spanish mission, and to be part of this team. And then we developed a lot of collaboration. And now, after years and years, I'm part of the university as Ramon y Cajal, and all came from this call. Do you want to join the team? And when someone trusts you from the beginning, in this world, it's not easy. You are dealing with very different kind of personalities, egos, and so you have to keep straight and keep faith in the humanity, because our careers are very difficult to reach this moment when you have a fixed position. So we are all fighting, we are all dealing with issues, with or answers that are no. So when you meet people like Alejandro or other peers, Lisa Land, colleagues like that just trust you, and they think, okay, you are the one, so come and join, and that you share together, you can discuss, you can exchange ideas, and this is the way of working, the teamwork. It's this.
Being part of a team is very important, and also because you come from different specialities, so what you know, nobody else knows. So you have to collaborate. It has to be a collaboration, a team effort, and it is important to be given the chance to be part of one of those teams. I had the opportunity to interview Alejandro. And how long have you been working at Kubet el-hawa?
Since 2017. Yeah.
How is the experience of working there?
It's a climbing experience to be working in Kubet el-hawa. I was working there since 2017. Of course, not every year because of the new missions, but it's very nice because the material is amazing. The place is fantastic. You have the view from your office on site is just like nowhere else. I work also in Elephantine on the other side, but Kubet el-hawa is you have to put your body on the sun to go up, but as soon as you're there, it's amazing. So yeah, it's very very nice. And also this team spirit and this way of working with other colleagues like Jose Alba or Luisa. It's amazing. We work together. And also, I remember one of the best moments in Kubet El Hawa I had was I was living in London at this time for my grant. And one of these grants, is this European grant, you have to prepare some part of your project for the general public. So I had the idea as my daughter was going at school. She was very young, but 5 or 6 years old. And I had the idea to create a project that was called From the Excavation to the Museum, to explain to the kids how you find an object, what you do on site, and then how this object, what are the steps before this object is going to the museum. So as we were living in London, I proposed this project to the school, to the class of my daughter. And the school was so enthusiastic that they say, oh, but we can do it for all the school. So what we did was great. So all the team of Kubet El Hawa was happy to be part of the project. The kids prepared questions. So I made interview on site to the anthropologists, the archaeologists, the epigraphists, everyone, the drawers, the ceremologists, to say what you do on site, what you do, what is it. And so we did this, filming the interview. Then I sent the interview to the school. At this time, the connection was crazy. So I remember it took like one night to send the movie, but it works. And then I organized a Skype directly from London to Aswan for the team and the kids to speak to the team directly. And I remember this moment when we opened the screen and there were two groups of kids. The first one was 100 kids and the second one, 150 kids that were all seeing us like, wow, it's amazing. And we were discussing, they were asking questions, and it was amazing. And all the team participated to this, and it was so nice. And then I went back to London, and I bring the class of the big ones to the British Museum to show them, you see this kind of object that you saw on site, how they go in the museum, what they do. And it was amazing. It was so nice. And it was also done thanks to the mission in Kubet El Hawa.
Now it's impossible to know how many children's lives you have changed with that activity. Because probably at least some of them will want to become archaeologists or Egyptologists for sure. Because this kind of experiences stay in their memories and they have a big impact. And what other missions are you working with?
I was working with the Czech mission in Abu Sir, the project of Marie Peterkova-Hulova that was dedicated to ancient Egyptian burials containers. So I was the wood specialist so this project was dedicated to Old Kingdom first intermediate periods containers. So it was very nice to work in the mission there. It was with Mohamed Megahed. And then I work in Deir el Medina with the French Institute in Cairo. I have a team there. So we are, I build my team as the Medjehu project. So we work as a team, as independent. So we are working together, or just 2 or 3 of us. So we work in Deir el Medina, in the Western Wadis. I work also in Abydos, in the temple of funerary temple of Ramses II, to identify a tree with Samah Iskander. I work also in Elephantine. First, I was working with the Swiss Institute, and now I work with the German Institute, and Komombo Temple, also with the team of Basel and IFAO on the temple construction. So this is something that is very different from the funerary objects, and of course Kubet El Hawa. Yeah, sure. But the Temple of Komombo study is very nice. And it's a continuation of what I was doing with Elephantine, with the Swiss Institute, as identifying a workshop where dovetails were made to build the Temple of Khnum. So I identified this workshop and the kind of wood that were used. And so in Komombo, in the Temple of Komombo, there is a lot of wooden pieces that are still in situ. So we can make a complete analysis of all these wooden elements. So we start last year with the Roman wall, and this year we will go back, so in November, to continue in the Ptolemaic part of the temple.
Oh my God. So it's a lot. I mean, we don't have time to speak about all of them. And how do you manage to be involved in so many missions? I mean, how do you manage your time, your life in Spain now because you're based in Spain?
It's a bit challenging. I'm lucky enough to have a fantastic husband that knows the world of archaeology because we met on archaeological excavation in France a long time ago. So he knows the work and he knows how it goes. So he's very helpful and supportive to let me go on site and work. It's not easy. It's not easy to move so much, to be so much on site. That's why I'm trying to train my colleagues to give them all the keys to go on site without me, and me to reduce my time on specific missions. So the thing is that, for example, Abydos was a one-shot. Komombo will be certainly 2 years. Elephantine can be a lifetime. Deir el Medina also. But Abusir was a link to this project, so it's done. So you see, but I know there is other project ask me to join. So now I choose what I want to develop or not. And as I train my colleagues, I know they can do also this work of analyzing, having a comprehensive study of the product of the object. But it's true that it takes a lot of time also because you have the conferences, the reports. I'm leading a program in the French Institute also. So, yes, I work also in Wadi El Jar. I forgot, sorry. So, but this is very nice because it's on this different mission, you see what you want to develop. Like, for example, in Wadi El Jar, we found a real ebony. And so we want to develop a lot of analysis and way of identifying with Claire Newton, who is archaeobotanist. We work together. So it's very difficult to say goodbye to one mission because, of course, but time passing, I'm very happy to train my colleagues to give them the keys to do as I do, because I'm not a superwoman, so I can't do everything. But I know that they are on the right way to do this without any problem.
Yeah, but it's also very important to teach and train other people to be able to make progress in this field of expertise.
Yeah, sure.
So, well, I have many questions still, but we don't have the time to go through them all. But I wanted to ask you about your project, Medjehu project.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what it is about and what you do?
So Medjehu project is a name that we decided to, with my two main colleagues, Anna Giulia De Marco and Lisa Sartini, that are also Egyptologists, specialized on wooden objects. We worked together in Deir el Medina at first. And then we decided, as we work as a team since the beginning, to create a project with one name to put all the mission we do or the research program or anything we do about wood alone, by team, or just two of us, three, under the same name, to have a specific banner, like to say, it's this project, the team of Medjehu is working there. Under Medjehu, you have all the project that we developed, the research program, our collaborators. We are affiliated to Lisbon University and University, of course, also. We have also our conservator, Jaume Vilaro Fabregat, that is with us. And we collaborate with our colleagues, Margaret Serpico, also, who is specialized of resins and varnishes. So Medjehu was built and created in end of 2021. So we are always looking for funding for the project to continue the work. So thanks to the mission that are helping, and we can develop our scope, and we look for private fundings, and also I'm preparing an ERC project now to develop our research on another step. So all this is very nice to see how you can all go together in the same direction, because there is wood for everyone who wants to work on this topic in Egypt. It's important to link the eyes on the same direction, the eyes and the ends, because we all have our own vision of one object. The conservator will see like that. The Egyptologist specialized in statuary will do this. The other one will see that. So combining our specialities, we do things so much better than alone. So that's the way.
If I understood you correctly, Medjehu project is not linked to a specific site.
No.
It's linked, let's say, to a specific activity, which
Absolutely.
is related to wood. So research on wood, and you work in different sites.
Exactly. The subtitle of Medjehu, so Medjehu means carpenter in ancient Egypt. So Medjehu project, investigating woodcraft along the Nile. So this is the main idea of the project.
I wish you best of luck. And also another thing I wanted to ask you about is the exhibition you have organized, Beyond the Tree.
Yeah.
It started in Madrid, in Alcalá de Henares.
It started in Alcalá de Henares in last December. It was linked to the shaped conference that we organized there. So this exhibition was done thanks to the collaboration of Patricia Mora, who is an archaeological photographer, and I work with her in many missions. She has the perfect eye to see Egypt. She captured the light of this country. It's amazing. And then we organized a big exhibition in the French Institute last June until mid of July. And it was organized with Julien Aubert de la Pierre, who is my colleague. He was in charge of the organization of the exhibition. And we organized a conference linked to the exhibition in the French Institute to bring all together people working on wood and botany and musical instrument made of wood as a study day. It was very nice. And we end the day with the opening of the exhibition and a concert of Zar music in the garden of the French Institute to conclude the day. And then the exhibition starts again, 15th of September in Jaén, in the University of Jaén.
This year?
Yeah.
And until when is it going
until 24th of October.
I won't have time to see it, I'm afraid. No. All your projects are very interesting. I think we can do like 3 or 4 more interviews to go through all your research. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to have you again in the future as a guest, and that you can keep on telling us about all the research you're doing.
With pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and good luck with everything. See you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.